Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show.
Welcome to one of the internet's best podcasts, where we dive deep into the lives of the extraordinary and fascinating people who leave an indelible mark on our world. Join us as we explore their captivating stories, remarkable achievements, and unique perspectives that shape history and inspire generations. Get ready to embark on a journey through the lives of inspiring people unlike any other.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show. I'm very excited to be here with you. And I remind you, my listeners, perhaps those who are coming for the first time to the show, that the mission statement or the essence of this show is to pat humankind on the back. It's to recognize the inspirational things that we have done together as a people, as creation, whatever your spiritual predilection happens to be. And I have been so delighted over the last year and more to have the opportunity to interview fascinating individuals, people who have worked zealously to ensure that they bring something to this planet in the very short time that they are here. One such person is Noach Braun, who is the founding director of the Israel Guide Dog Center for the Blind. And that plays into this interview today, and you'll learn why in a moment. But there's an amazing human being who at some point discovered that spark within him that he wanted to ignite, and that was helping other people. And it was doing so by creating an entity, an environment where dogs could be raised as guide dogs for individuals who are challenged through their sight. Today, I am really, really excited and very honored to have as my guest the very inspirational David Broza. How are you, David?
I'm very, very good. Thanks, Avrum. It's great to be here. Great to be a guest on your show for the first time.
Yes.
And, thank you.
Well, that's good because it means there'll be a second. So I thank you for that too. Now, David Broza is legendary. He's known for his captivating storytelling and fusion of music. He's enchanted audiences throughout the world for a number of years now. This episode is brought to you by the Canadian Friends of Israel Guide Dog Center for the Blind. David will be performing for them on Sunday night. That's November 3rd at the Meridian Center, 5040 Yonge Street. On that night, the organization will honor the founder, Noach Braun, and his wife, Orna. There are tickets that are still available, and you can find them online. David has played since October 7th. David has played for dozens and dozens of crowds across Canada, Israel, the U.S., and other parts of the world. We're going to talk about that because I am fascinated by your response, David, on October 7th and afterwards. It was a very zealous one, is a very strong one, is a very committed one. So again, thank you very much for doing the show. I appreciate it. I know how busy you are.
Well, I appreciate being here and also hopefully exposing a little more the organization that we're help with. Yeah.
So you said in an interview that on October 7th, you woke up, you saw what was happening, you watched TV the entire day. I think you turned it off at 12 o'clock that night. Mm-hmm. And you said, too, that you were driven to go down south and help. And I was thinking about that response. I know that we see firemen, policemen on September 11th, how the narrative about them was that while everybody was running away, they were running towards the destruction with the idea that potentially that could be their last day of service. And I found in my interviews with the Israelis, David, that so many of them said they wanted to jump in their car, they wanted to go down south, and they wanted to help where they can. A guy like me, I'm a bit of a pachdan. I run away, you know. What do you think it is inside of you that compelled you to actually go?
I haven't quite analyzed that side of me yet, and I've been at this for a good 50 years, if not more, in every situation that Israel goes through. I wouldn't shy from it here in the States, where I'm right now in New York, or I wouldn't shy from it in Spain, where I spend a lot of time touring. And it's my nature, I guess, is to if I can help, I want to be of help. In times of this, like this, for example, we're talking about October 7th, a year ago. I was in the middle of a tour in Israel, a very important one for me. And we came out with 40 shows on schedule. It was so successful, it went on to 50, 60, 70 amazing shows, celebrating the 40th anniversary of an iconic, epic album of mine, The Woman by My Side, Aisha Sheiti. And so this was early morning, 6:30. There's sirens, and I'm at my place right on the beach in Tel Aviv, and I turn on the TV because I realized this is unusual, and there was no forecast, there was no premonition, there was no telling that this is going to be the day that it turned out to be. And of course, I was glued. I was alone in the apartment in this little hotel, and my immediate, after realizing that this is not just a case that's going to be over in 2 or 3 hours, I realized that we're going to be in this for a few days. Obviously, all shows were canceled. Every activity was canceled. We didn't know where things were going to head. My immediate reaction was to recruit my driver. I have a driver who I trust, and he was ready to go with me. He's got a van that we go to the shows with, and then locate communities that we're in need of any attention whatsoever, whatever attention they can get. And I always know that a song, the guitar, and just anything to diversify and get people's minds off the horror that they're going through or the stress. Nothing that a guitar can't handle, a guitar and a voice. So I started going out, and I started calling communities and friends who connected me to communities. And then I found a wonderful woman who does booking, but in a very different way, not through an office. She has her own little office, but it's more like improvised. And I gave it to her, and within hours, I had 3 or 4 shows lined up for different communities and for soldiers and for big combat units and every persona existing in the southern area of Israel, which was under attack. She just lined up all these shows, and my driver just made a plan for us, and we went out. And after 3 or 4 months, we had already done 150 shows, and then we were going to by now it's over 250 shows just straight. And we just come into a room or backyard or wherever the people are, displaced people, and I just gather them, put them in front of me, and pull out the guitar, and I play for an hour, and then go on. So we get them from and this is in trying to answer what compels me to do this. The human factor to me is the most beneficial, most important factor in my world of art and presenting music. Being a storyteller, being a songwriter, and a performer, the connectivity from where I come, telling the story and hopefully reaching into the depths of somebody's mind and soul for the duration of a 2-hour show, 2.5-hour show, and where no matter where, it could be Cleveland or Toronto this weekend. The idea is that we come and we pull you out of your day-to-day reality and throw on you or pull you into my world of fantasy, which is short stories told through song and a lot of great rhythm and great guitar playing, which I work hard on maintaining. And so I did find myself walking into one community after another. I did 3 or 4 shows a day like this. But it's not easy, because the hard part of it all is that everybody is in trauma. Mm-hmm. And when they're in trauma, you cannot really maintain a contact. Like you look in their eyes and they're not there. They're fearful. They're traumatized. And so you play a song and suddenly something sparks. Some adrenaline, endorphins from the brain suddenly react, and the body starts to feel positive. And then they sing along, and then they smile, and then they sing along further, and then they clap. And by the end of the hour, they're dancing and moving around. And my music isn't dance music. It's just got a lot of rhythm to it. And, you know, before and after a show, I find myself walking around the people and shaking their hands and hugging them and just asking a couple of questions where they're from, which is very unlike the environment in the theater or in on my tours, where I only meet the audience when I walk out on stage. Then I get off stage after the show, and I might meet a couple of dozen signing autographs and talking small talk. But in this case, it's walking the room and talking to them before you play, during the play, and then after you play. And it's an experience that I have yet to digest fully. And I'm afraid it's not happening anytime soon because we're still in this process of trauma and under war, and it's it's so hard and it's so unfortunate. And you know, I'm an Israeli, and I'm concerned just with my immediate community where I can communicate, which is all Israelis of all likes and all religions and all sects and the minorities and everything. But the whole Middle East is under duress and under it's a very imbalanced environment right now, and so music is the only thing that I feel, because of the harmony, that is the most balanced answer to soothing one's mind. And this was my short answer.
Yeah, it's a good one. Well, what's your driver's name?
Baruch Shalom.
Well, what's he like? You said you trust him a lot.
Oh boy, he's been with me for over 20 years. First of all, he's very quiet, drawn into himself, loving, beautiful man, but very, very a loner. And he is a perfect driver, because 25 years ago, I had a fantastic driver, but one night he was too fantastic and fell asleep at the wheel while we were driving back from a show, and we had a major, major accident, and I was thrown into a year of recuperation from a paralysis in my arms and a lot of parts of the body broken, and so I needed a driver who would replace him once I recovered, which took a year,
Yeah.
and but this is 25 years ago, so everything's good. But there was a fear that I wouldn't get back to playing because I was paralyzed in my arms. But everything resolved itself after a year, and so Baruch was chosen to be my driver since, and it's beautiful because even in these situations, it's not the first one. We've done many frontline shows, and the first thing that I trust with him is that he will know how to drive into a fire zone, and to maintain coolness, concentrate on the road, and not worry about his life, my life, or anybody's life. Just worry about keeping hands on the wheel and getting us safe from one point to another. And this is what I needed. And so he was the only one who was covered. Like, he got full pay, made sure he was taken care of while I'm performing, and it was beautiful. I mean, we did, we looked at each other at one point somewhere in, I think, February. I don't remember what it was. And he said, we've done over 250 shows. Why don't you take a break and go visit your wife and go home? Which I did a couple of times. So, and my wife was in New York, so of course I took off. But here I couldn't help myself either, so I started calling synagogues and asking if when they have a free time when I can gather the communities, with Israeli and Jewish communities together, just to sing an hour, because I know what it does. And so we did many of them while I was visiting here at every visit. And I think this is still continuing. There's still, it's going through so many phases and changes, and your mind tries to work out what is the future, what has happened, where does it put us as Israelis, as Jews in the diaspora, as the connectivity with one another, as the threat from the outside is once again showing itself and proving itself as a real threat on Jewish life. And a thought that comes to mind, and I'm sure you probably would resonate with you too, that our parents' generation who lived through the Holocaust, just for one horror, almost at least in Israel was where I grew up. I don't think ever insinuated as to the possibility that the animosity and the environment of the world towards Jews
Yeah.
would come back to threaten us and haunt us. And so we were just, as Israeli, and I'm sure as Jews of the diaspora, very happy just to go about our lives and progress and build, like in Israel, which was a miraculous achievement to build such an incredible country in 76 years, from zero, from nothing, from rubble to
Yeah.
the rubble of the people, to the greatness and grandness of being an accepted country in almost every corner of the world. And now it seems like things are turning against us in many ways. And I don't want to start getting into the reason and the hows and the whats, but these times are beyond challenging. And so I find that I need to indulge and think about it too, but I try to stay true to the music so that I can be worthy of performing for people and be able to give some, a moment or an hour of leisure and high spirits.
Well, why do you think we're hated so much, David? The Jewish people.
Why would I know? Why? I think we're very nice people and we're very
I
successful.
also do.
I don't know. These are things that are passed on for thousands of years, and if we had a theological conference, then we might come to some conclusion.
Yeah.
And listen, we have to reinvent once again our position in the world, and it's going to happen because we're not taking this lightly, nor the Israelis. I'm talking about the people. Forget about the government and all that. The people and some organizations, and nor the Jewish communities around the world. Everybody's taking it very seriously, and everybody's doing their best to open their centers and their communities for everybody's need. Anybody who feels that he needs a community, we'll see. I have faith in the world. I have faith in people, but I do now understand that our parents' generation and grandparents' generation, who were Holocaust survivors, just for this matter, didn't think that we would be in any sort of complex situation once again. And should we be lighting up the flares to show that there is danger in the future? Maybe. I don't know. We don't know where the world is leading. We've got an election. The world is watching an election unfold itself next week, November 5th. That may determine the course of things. And everybody's, of course, a little nervous perhaps about it. Everybody in the Jewish world, of course. Not that they know what they have to be worried about. Neither one side or the other of the political spectrum in America is going to harm Jewish life at all, in any ways. But there's politics involved, and there's rhetoric, and the new world, and the new media, and the control of media by anybody, and the quotes that people throw out there without taking any responsibility, and things that if you fall into these traps of communication, then you may have a bad day more than often.
Are you still playing with Arab musicians?
Oh yeah, my Palestinian partners, of course.
Has anything changed?
Yeah, they're they're feeling like us. They're being attacked too. I mean, the Hamas is not for anybody who's a free thinker and an intellectual or a good human. The Hamas does not give any positive encouragement or direction for its people by any means. They have literally sequestered the Gaza scene, and the PLO never were able to stand up to them, and so the Palestinian Authority is with its own complexity as its issues. And my friends are just sweet, loving, incredible musicians, beautiful family people, people that I've known for many, many, many decades, and they're the best. I mean, and I'm not generalizing. I mean it. There's always bad people everywhere, but the people I've gotten to know over so many years are peace-loving, and they're just, the reality is complex, very, very complex.
When you're playing music with them, or with other musicians. And I've done a little bit of playing in my life. I play the harmonica, a little bit of guitar, nothing special. I feel that that normally happen in terms of communication with another individual, it starts to dissipate, and what remains is the music. What remains is the notes. So when you're playing music with your Palestinian friends, does a brotherhood of sorts begin to come out of that? What happens in terms of your relationships as you play?
Well, as I said, I've got long-term relationships, and these are relationships that have turned into what you call brotherhood, and nothing less than that. We feel responsible for each other. We cover for each other. We care for each other. But I care for my friend Saeed in East Jerusalem as much as I care for my friend Alon Nadan, my bass player in Tel Aviv. And everybody knows everybody, and the children have gotten to know the other children, and it's become a community. And as the Middle East should be and will be in the near future, hopefully. And but I also come from a family that has always promoted conflict resolution and communication, and I'm also. I believe in open minds and no boycott. I believe when you boycott, you put an end to any chance of communication, which could help you turn the corner. So, I work with the settlers, and I work with Palestinian zealots, and I work with Israeli of all sorts and all walks of life. I have my own personal reservations and my preferred way of thinking, but I can't. I would never rule out somebody else's choice. On the contrary, I think we have to walk hand in hand and help pull each other, each one from his own point of view, and that's what makes a society a healthy one. And I know it may sound like I'm professing some high standard which doesn't exist. Well, I believe it does exist, and I believe that it exists in every walk of life, in every person, whether you're a simple, whether you're a shoemaker who just interested in his shoes, whether you're a politician, or politicians are complex, but whether you're academic or a doctor or somebody who reads a lot and stuff, everybody, the basic needs are the same, one and the same.
You know what really fascinated me when I was doing my research on you is that you've always seemed to be driven. Like as a youngster, your main thing was art. Do you know that? Do you know this piece up here? Do you remember that piece?
Which I say I don't see you.
Oh, you can't see me. Can you see this?
Is that from Aisha Shiti?
That is a piece that you actually painted.
Yeah.
And it was on sale at a gallery. It's called Sin Titulo, I believe.
Sin Titulo. Wow.
Yeah. That's yours.
Oh, then I later on you have to show it to me. I'm very curious. So
It's cool.
I was a painter from the age of 6, and I always painted. But I also always worked. I was a delivery boy from the age of 6 in Tel Aviv, delivering. I was delivering foods, and I was delivering flowers, and I was delivering laundry. And that way I got to know everybody in the neighborhood, and I collected my own tips and didn't need any pocket money. And later on in life, when my parents moved to Spain, I painted. I went, I got myself, my father got me a tripod and paints and all this. I continued painting. And then I started selling when I was 14. I would go to the flea market in Madrid, and then later on in galleries, I sold paintings. So I always had this thing, but music was never my objective. I was always in awe of musicians and I played guitar, but then I listened to Jimi Hendrix or Janis Joplin, the band.
Right. That's right.
So, later on, at 22, after my military service, I put everything aside, all the art aside, and I took on music as my main profession, and it's been amazing for the past 50 years.
I believe it's Eric Clapton who tells a story that he and his buddies, the Jeff Becks of the world, went down to watch Hendrix when Hendrix was really, coming into the fore. Yeah. And at the end of the evening, they all said they went home, they put their guitars in their cases, they shut it, and they put it away.
I did that. I did that before I was born. I wasn't thinking of a musician, but I heard stories like that. Of course, And but I've dedicated since 22. I've dedicated my life to to improving my
Yes.
guitar playing, and I've
Yes.
kind of mastered the instrument after I don't know almost 50 years of career. It's pretty cool.
You use a thumb pick, I believe.
I use a thumb pick. I play on a Spanish guitar. It's nylon strings, so it's really it's not a guitar to be played with a pick. Although there's one guy, Willie Nelson, who plays it with a pick. It does an
Yeah.
amazing job.
Yeah.
I play with a thumb pick just because my nails keep on breaking. So the thumb is breaks and I can't fix it. So I play with I played with a thumb pick and I've done that for many years. And other than that, I'm a finger picker. I do a lot of finger picking, and I try to fill the sound of the accompaniment that I give myself on guitar as full as can be,
Yes.
not just strumming and just making noise, but just intricate parts and bass lines and so like guitars, as if there's like two or three instruments playing at the same time. I don't know how I managed to get that sound out, but this is what I've developed over the years, and it's enabled me to perform solo. Although on Sunday I'm coming with three brilliant
Yes.
Cuban musicians.
Yes.
They're called the Trio Havana, and they play my music, of course, in Hebrew, some of it in Spanish, whatever. Depends on the night and on the audience, and it's a blast. It's one of the most beautiful, to me, a mesmerizing experience to play with them. And it's very similar to the way I play with my Palestinian musician friends, that we just play together and we fall into this pocket of harmonious and rhythmic patterns, and we just create a room full of magic. And this is what keeps us going for over 25 years of just us, me and East Jerusalemites, connected and working together and recording and writing and eating and crying and laughing and keeping politics, where politics should be, as a sideline, but not a guideline.
From all the years of playing guitar, can you still be tactile? Can you still hold your hand, your wife's hand?
What do you mean?
Like it's not coarse for her? I always wonder about guitarists, the end of their fingers.
No, no. I mean, I have calluses, but
Yeah, yeah,
so does the lumberjack. So
right. We were talking about a show that you're doing this Sunday night, November the 3rd, here in Toronto, and that is for the Canadian Friends of the Israel Guide Dog Center for the Blind.
Yep.
So I want to get into that with you, and I want to do it circuitously. There have been a number of blind musicians, outstanding ones in history. Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, we all know. Andrea Bocelli, oh, we all know that. Jose Feliciano. I actually interviewed him on a radio show that I had a number of years ago, and I was very deeply honored to sing "Light My Fire" together with him.
Amazing.
He's a beautiful man, David. Do you know him at all?
Yeah. I've met him. We jammed together. Yeah.
How was that? How was that jamming with him?
Well, overwhelming for me, because of all the respect I have for him, and also he's such a brilliant guitarist and singer.
Yeah.
This was not too long ago. I want to say about 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah.
So when musicians, and I've interviewed Jeff Healy as well. Did you ever play with Jeff?
No, I
So
listened to it.
an
Amazing.
incredible human being, David. Incredible, very talented.
Yeah.
Passed away since, right?
Yep.
But I watch them, and sometimes they play with their eyes open. Sometimes they play with their eyes closed. I've been watching a number of videos that you have done, and there are times, again, where your eyes are open and where your eyes are closed. What happens to you, a musician, when you're up on stage in front of 100 people, 500, 1,000 people, and you're up there and you close your eyes? Where do you go with your music?
I don't really need to close my eyes, because even when they're open, I don't see anything. I'm so deeply into my music that I'm aware there's an audience, and I'm projecting all my energy and my love and my songs to the audience, no
Yes.
matter how big. But I never see anything. It has been something on my persona that has always denied myself of seeing an audience because I don't want to, the audience is at the world and they're watching, and some with eyes closed, some get tired, some are smiling. I don't want to be part of what the audience is going through. I'm leading a show which connects me deeply to the music and the lyrics and the energy. So even when I have my eyes open, they're closed. They're like that. My eyeballs are turned inside. So I'm like always looking in. Very, very seldom do I look out, and if I do, it's in order to communicate with a musician that I have. But I hardly ever. But with all having said that, and with eyes closed, I can tell. I can almost feel every movement in the room just by sensing it. I can feel every movement. I can feel people getting up, sitting down. I can just feel the energy, and I guess that's something very special for me as a performing artist.
So what then is the relationship by the end of the concert, let's say, that you hope to create with the audience if you're not seeing them? Where does that come from?
No, it's not that I'm not seeing. I'm seeing them from a different point of view.
Yeah, right.
So I'm there for them. No, the whole idea is for me to basically shift them and take them away from wherever they came from, whatever day they had, and bring them into my world, and that world will be so mesmerizing and interesting for them and compelling that when I'm done after 2 hours or an hour, depends how long the concert is, then we go bang, like in hypnosis. You snap your fingers and oops, it's over.
Yeah.
And they walk with a feeling inside, like I would walk for the next few hours, maybe a couple of days.
David, you have a relationship with the Israel Guide Dog Center for the Blind. We talked about that prior to recording the show. You know as well Noach Braun, who's the founding director of it, his lovely wife.
Yep.
And you have an affinity for it. Tell us what your special feeling is for the organization.
Well, first of all, it was only later on in my life that I realized how many of our men in service in the military have suffered casualties and injuries with our eyes and have lost eyesight or have become heavy eyesight, that they cannot really distinguish the details that you and I see when we walk a street. And I've performed for many of them over the years in special evenings. But when I met Noach, he introduced me to his project where they raise guide dogs and train them especially. And it's a long process. And I went to visit the center, which is gorgeous. It's a few acres and very well organized and full of love. I mean, I walked out being so happy because I had known them for about 10 years, but I hadn't really come to visit. And I kind of tell myself, hey, I want to be a dog. This is the kind of love I get, and I get all this training, and I'm going to be helping. So yeah, it's very important and very unique and very effective. And now with the October 7 war, we have, I think, the largest number of new vision casualties, eye casualties that we've ever had. And this is why the center really, really needs to get as much help, financial help, because they can take care of bringing in dogs. Even that is hard to find a way and find the dogs that are right. And it's a whole process. It's not like every dog can do it. And now is the time to really get up and show your support. If it's of any interest to anybody, this is the time to make the effort. Not that in the past there wasn't a time, but this is a time of war. And the type of casualties that we're getting, young people with lost limbs and, of course, eyesights, and so many. But at least with the eyesight, the dogs are there to be by the injured person's side for the rest of his life. So it's there is a plan and there's a way of, and I know that these dogs are going to bring some kind of serenity and peacefulness, and help these injured people to plan on their independence and not having to be so dependent on helpers all the time. They'll have their dog.
Do you have a dog?
I've had many dogs.
Have you? What kind?
Oh boy, I had mutts, lots of mutts.
Yeah.
The last one was, she was 17 when she died. That's like 2 years ago. She was we brought her when my son turned like 3 or 4, and she was his. She was a Chow Chow and Samoyed, which was not a recommended mix, and she was amazing, the gentlest, most wonderful. And my son trained her with some major trainer in Tel Aviv, so she was very obedient and very melded with the family. It was lovely. Everybody always commended her, how wonderful she was. Although we got the compliments.
What was her name, David?
Eve.
You call her Eve. Why Eve?
My son was Adam, so I was Adam and Eve.
There you go.
He is.
Do you remember when Eve passed away? You remember what it was like for you?
Well, I wasn't at home. I was here in the States touring. My son was in America studying. So his sister, the oldest sister, literally saw her to her last moment. She was in her arms. It's very sad. But, a dog's life is shorter than us humans, so we go through several dogs. And she got a good life. She had a wonderful companion. She was a wonderful companion, and we loved her, and the world loved her. So
yeah,
I can
You ever read any lyrics about animals, about your dogs?
Oh well, I didn't. But my partner Jonathan Geffen, who passed away about a year and a half ago,
I'm sorry.
He wrote a lot about cats.
Did he?
So, yeah, and we have a beautiful song called Pina, which we did with Kevis Shishasa, this group that I worked with. By the way, Kevis is a lamb, so a sheep, and the song was his song was that he would sing himself to. He would count sheep, obviously, like we all do, to fall asleep, and he would always fall asleep with the 16th sheep. So yeah, we always did something with sheep.
Can you sing? Can you sing some of the song for us?
Let's say what from Kevis Shishasa?
Yeah.
טוב, ליל מנוחה וחלום, כבר מאוחר ומחר נקום ונראה איך שמגיע היום בסוף כל לילה הוא טוב. חושך נפל על החור, רק הירח משאיר את אורו הצהוב. צרצר מצרצר צרצורו שר לילה טוב.
It's lovely. Thank you.
All right.
Do you feel blessed to be David Broza?
I'm blessed. No, I don't know if, it could have been somebody else, I suppose. Yeah, I'm very blessed.
That's true.
I have a good life.
You seem like you have a beautiful life. Baruch Hashem. You do.
Thank you. My art is my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to conclude this interview with David Broza, and I want to do so by saying that I really, truly enjoyed it, and I look forward to us speaking again. You're a lovely man, and many, many, many people in the world feel that way. I was talking to Gary Rosenblatt yesterday, who's the founder of some American Jewish newspapers, and I told him that I would be interviewing you, and he said, "Oh, tell him this little quip." I said, "Okay, I will." He said, well, they were trying to figure out how many Israelis lived in America. So someone said, you know what, go to a David Broza concert and you'll see them all. You'll see them all there, right?
In some of them, yeah.
Yeah. So you are deeply, deeply loved. Deeply loved.
Thank you. I'm very lucky.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on Sunday night, November the 3rd, just a couple of days from now, David Broza will be appearing. He'll be playing a concert for the Canadian Friends of the Israel Guide Dog Center for the Blind. It's at the Meridian Center at 5040 Yonge Street, and there are tickets still available. When I post this interview, I will put a link so that if you'd like to purchase tickets, you still have that option of doing so. Do it. I've learned a little, right?
Yeah, to see you all there. It's going to be because also I'm meeting with my trio Havana. It's a very special blend, and it's going to be a unique concert, which I don't do every day.
Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting. And I suggest really strongly that you investigate the Israel Guide Dog Center. Why? Because there are so many people, as David said, Israeli chayalim, chayalot, soldiers who are have a life because they have a seeing eye dog. I did an interview with a woman who is visually impaired in Israel and asked her, what is it like to be visually impaired in Israel? And she told me, look, it's not easy because the laws are slow to come around, but it is getting better. She said from time to time, you go on a bus and the bus driver say, I'm sorry, you can't bring the dog. So they're trying to change those laws. And through Noach Braun and his organization, they're succeeding in doing so. So reach deeply into your pocket and make a nice donation, purchase tickets. And not only do you get the nachas, like we say in Jewish, of helping individuals, our fellow Jews and non-Jews, but you also will be privy to, no doubt, a most beautiful, beautiful concert. So again, thank you to David Broza. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of days. And you're doing a beautiful job with life. I'm very, very inspired. Yeah. I know my listeners. Yeah, thank you. Until we meet again, folks, as they say in Yiddish, sei gesinnt. David, you speak Yiddish at all?
No, but I can hear it.
Good for you. You hear in many languages, eh? Okay, we will be back.